There's a kind of pain most men never speak about. Not heartbreak, not betrayal, not even rejection. But the moment you realize you gave her everything, your time, your truth, your tenderness, and it still wasn't enough. That's the cut that doesn't bleed. It just haunts because it doesn't leave you angry. It leaves you confused. There was a man named Eli. He was raised on the idea that love was about openness, that if you truly cared, you shared everything. So when he met her, he did just that. He gave her his dreams, his goals, his fears, even the stories he'd never told another soul. He wanted her to feel safe, seen, special. And for a brief moment, he thought he had it all. The late night talks, the smiles, the feeling of finally being understood. But then, something shifted. She started pulling back, became distant, colder, less impressed. The same truths he once believed would bring them closer were now being held against him in silence. And one morning, without warning, she looked at him with pity, not passion, no anger, no drama, just detachment. And she walked. Eli sat alone with one question echoing in his chest. How did my honesty become the reason she lost respect? He didn't chase, didn't beg, didn't try to fix what couldn't be unfelt. Instead, he disappeared, not to lick wounds, but to rebuild. 18 months, no messages, no distractions, no versions of himself to perform, just silence and study. He dove into male psychology, female nature, ancient philosophy, modern warfare of the heart, and above all, he studied Stoic discipline. When he came back, he wasn't louder. He wasn't flashier. He didn't become a bad boy. He became collected, refined, unreadable, not because he was hiding, but because he had learned the power of restraint. And with that came obsession. Suddenly, women couldn't get enough of him, not because he gave more, but because he gave less, and with intention. He didn't become more emotional. He became more in control of his emotions. He didn't speak more. He learned to let his silence speak for him. He didn't hate women. He just stopped trying to win them. And the result? They started chasing him. These are the 5 lessons he learned in the dark. Lessons that rewired his identity, reshaped his presence, and made him a man she would never forget. Not because he broke her heart, but because he refused to hand it over without a war. Let's begin. Lesson 1. Never reveal your emotional core too early. Eli used to think that honesty was the highest form of love, so he showed her everything. The anxiety he carried, the nights he couldn't sleep, the doubts that haunted him when no one was watching. He thought, if she saw my pain, she would understand me. If she understood me, she would love me deeper. But the more she saw, the more she withdrew. Not because she was cruel, but because emotional nakedness without earned intimacy feels like weight, not connection. Here's the truth no one tells men. A woman doesn't fall in love with your struggle. She falls in love with how you handle it. She doesn't want to be your therapist. She wants to believe she's walking beside a man who can stand in a storm and not flinch. Yes, you're allowed to feel. You're allowed to cry. But if your emotions spill without restraint, she starts to wonder, can he even hold himself together, let alone protect me? Eli learned the hard way. Your vulnerability must be earned, not dumped. Revealed in chapters, not thrown out like an open book. Because a man who gives his emotional center to someone who hasn't earned it is handing her the code to undo his spirit. Don't confuse intimacy with exposure. Not every emotion belongs in the open air. A real man doesn't hide his emotions. He disciplines them, not because he's cold, but because he knows. Powerful men cry in private and walk back into the world unshaken. Lesson 2. Never disclose your financial position too clearly. Eli once believed transparency would earn trust, so he told her everything: his income, his savings, his investments, his goals. He wanted her to know she was safe with him, that she didn't have to worry. But what he didn't realize was that the moment she saw the full number, she stopped seeing the man. If it was a lot, she began to calculate her lifestyle. what he could buy, what she deserved. If it wasn't enough, she started planning her exit. Because when a woman knows the ceiling, she'll raise her expectations to match it. And when she knows the floor, she'll walk if it feels too low. Eli wasn't being generous. He was handing her a ruler to measure his worth, instead of letting her feel his value. Never show her the full map of your kingdom. Let her see the fortress. Don't give her the treasury keys. Your financial reality is your business, not because you're hiding something, but because power isn't in what you have, it's in how you carry it. If she's with you for your wallet, she was never with you at all. Let her see your ambition, let her taste the fruit, but never let her know exactly how much is growing in your garden. Eli learned this. The man she respects is the one she can't quite figure out. He looks successful, but she's never sure how successful. That uncertainty is magnetic. It's not about deception. It's about maintaining the one thing most men give away too fast. Mystery. Lesson 3. Never reveal your next move. In his past life, Eli used to narrate every step. He wanted her to feel involved, included, informed. So he shared everything. His plans, his business strategy, where he was headed, what he was building, what he was thinking. He thought this would make her feel connected. Instead, it made him predictable, boring, easy to read, easy to lose interest in. Here's what most men don't understand. A woman doesn't stay because she understands you. She stays because she's intrigued by what she doesn't fully know. When you reveal your path too early, you remove the tension. And when there's no tension, there's no mystery. And when mystery dies, desire follows. Eli learned to move in silence, to act without broadcasting, to execute without preview. Not because he was hiding anything, but because he finally understood this law. The more predictable you are, the less valuable your presence becomes. Now he lets his results announce him, not his mouth. He doesn't tease the next thing. He doesn't update anyone mid-mission. He works, vanishes, and appears at the top. And that's the moment they all start watching again, because she no longer feels like she has him figured out. She's curious, excited, chasing. A powerful man doesn't need to show you the road. He becomes the destination. Lesson 4. Never show her you need her. Eli loved her deeply, but he made one fatal mistake. He didn't just love her, he needed her. He needed her text to feel okay. He needed her presence to feel seen. He needed her validation to feel like a man. And at first she was flattered, wanted, desired, but slowly. That need turned into weight, the same presence she once ran toward. She now started to escape from. Because here's the truth. When a man makes a woman his oxygen, she learns how to suffocate him. She doesn't want to feel like your center. She wants to orbit around a man who already has one. Eli learned this in pain. A woman may love your strength, but she will test your dependence. And when she sees that you can't breathe without her, she'll start pulling back just to see what you'll do. Clingy love is not devotion. It's fear. And women can smell fear from across a room. That's why Eli rebuilt himself from the ground up. He stopped depending on external love and became the kind of man who radiated inner peace. He could love, but he didn't chase. He could care, but he didn't collapse. He could lose her and remain whole. A woman will only relax in your arms when she knows you won't fall apart in hers. When you need her, you become her child. When you choose her, you remain her man. And ironically, the moment you no longer need her to stay is the moment she fears losing you the most. Lesson 5. Never confess what she can't unhear. At his lowest, Eli made one final mistake. He told her everything. The dark moments, the cheating he once did in college, the shame he carried from childhood, the guilt, the regrets, the scars. He thought it would bring them closer. He thought she'd admire his honesty. And at first she did. She said, "Thank you for trusting me." She said, "I understand." But deep down, something changed. Not in what she said, but in how she looked at him. Because here's what most men don't understand. Some truths aren't bridges. They're weapons. Not every woman can handle your past. Even fewer can carry it with grace. You're not obligated to bleed for closure. You're not required to dump your trauma for intimacy. Some stories are yours to carry, not because you're ashamed, but because you've evolved. Eli learned that not every sin needs confession. Not every scar needs explanation. The past, it shaped you. But if she wasn't there for the battle, she doesn't get a front row seat to your wounds. Tell her what builds trust. Keep what only burdens it. If it doesn't strengthen the bond, don't share it, because once it leaves your mouth, you can't take it back. And even if she forgives you, she may never see you the same. So now Eli moves differently. He's not dishonest. He's disciplined. He doesn't lie. He chooses silence. He doesn't unload. He protects his edge. You don't owe anyone your full story, not your fears, not your failures, not your plans, not your past. Because the moment you give everything away, you lose what makes you unforgettable. Mystery. Control is not cruelty. Silence is not avoidance. Boundaries are not arrogance. They're protection of your mind, your mission, your masculinity. The man who speaks less but moves with precision becomes the man no woman can predict and no one forgets. So hold the line. Don't explain yourself. Don't overshare to feel worthy. Don't hand over your soul for comfort. Protect your power. Lead with discipline. And watch how the world starts chasing a man it can't fully understand.